Hello guys, and today I'm going to be making an interview with Justin, who is from the United States, and we're going to be talking about a lot of things, computer science and so on. He is actually a computer science student in the University of Utah, and I think, Justin, you tell me more about yourself. So what are you doing there, and have you always thought of becoming a software engineer, a software developer, or just be in this field of computer science?
Just a little bit about my background. I'm actually from Wisconsin, which is in the Midwest, or that's basically the middle of the country. It should be called the Mideast. It's always confusing for people not from the US. So I came here. This is my third year of college now, and I am a computer science major with an emphasis in video games. Software wasn't really like something in high school that I focused on at all. So my school did have like a AP computer science course that was available, but I never took it. So college was the first time I had ever started writing any code. Yeah, so it wasn't really something I had always dreamt of doing, but it seemed like I really liked math and science, so it seemed like a natural extension because I knew I wanted to do some sort of engineering, and software engineering just seemed like kind of the future or like the best place to end up. So, yeah, and I'm really excited to be doing it.
And was it easy to get into?
Yes, I'd say the University of Utah isn't especially, yeah, it's not too difficult, especially if you're an in-state student. I'm not, but I did a good job in high school, so um, they were happy to have me here, I guess.
Okay, and as far as I know, like all of the education in the United States is not free, so you have to pay for your education. How was it? Was it difficult to manage everything? Did you take the loan, or you partly like you have the scholarship for your studies?
Since I did well in high school, I'd say that's probably like the best way in the US to like afford college is by getting a scholarship, which is what I ended up being fortunate enough to to get basically.
And do you have like any advice how to do it? I mean, only be good at college? Oh, I mean, at school, or I don't know, probably be more, let's say, search for the information, how you can get it, and so on.
I know like I had a friend in well, like not really a friend, but an acquaintance. I had a few classes with her. She applied for like 40 different scholarships. So she just like wrote a ton of essays and just did all this stuff, and she managed to pay for her entire education that way. So rather than taking the route of getting like one big scholarship, she got like a bunch of small ones and ended up paying for her education. As far as like advice outside of that, I don't know. I think kind of just looking for schools that tend to offer scholarships is a good technique.
So let's, I think, talk about more your, like, what are you doing there at the university? How difficult the studies are? Is it, how do you manage your time? Do you enjoy classes, or you are regretting of your education?
All the software like engineering courses and computer related ones I've always liked, at least enough not to be like annoyed by. Some I've liked more than others, but yeah.
And have you ever thought of that way that you've chosen the wrong path in programming? I mean, this is like video, mostly primarily concentrated. Your program, your major is mostly concentrated on video games, right? Have you ever thought that, oh, I like programming, but it's not my thing? I mean, not programming, but game development.
So as far as like the game stuff that I do, It's kind of more like on the side almost. So my degree is computer science. Like I'll graduate with a bachelor's of science in computer science, but I'm also getting the emphasis is the game stuff. So throughout my entire like degree, that comes out to like 6 courses, and then I had to take drawing as like a specific art gen ed, and then I had to take that design course. So it kind of just like instead of taking, an elective of whatever I wanted, I had to take something related to video games, basically. So as far as like my degree, I'm still mainly focused on computer science. Um, but I have considered, well, I've always enjoyed the game stuff because I do like doing artwork. I mean, not like, well or anything like that, but I do like, having a break from, very analytical and, there's like this is the right way to do it, to just kind of, being more free, doing, artwork in like Maya, doing 3D rendering type stuff. Um, so I've always liked it, but I've had some peers who they came into the school for the same reason I did, because this program's, well known, well rated. I had a friend from South Carolina. He came for the same reason I did, but he ended up dropping the video game part because he didn't like the like sometimes the structure in the courses can be a little bit frustrating with how team projects are managed or the course progresses and stuff like that. And also he liked the computer science, like just the basic computer science stuff enough where he figured he would rather just focus his energy there. Especially since the games industry can be, um, it has a bad reputation for a lot of like crunch time and, you know, not treating employees awesome and stuff like that. So I honestly don't know if I will end up in video games, but I'm happy to continue learning about it because it doesn't disadvantage me at all with computer science.
And let's talk about like your school curriculum, how everything is organized. So it's a like traditional education, right? So you have lectures, teachers, you have some projects. But for me, I've never done like computer science at the university, so I don't really know how it works out. Can you tell me more about that?
So I have some courses where basically we don't write any code really, and it's all theory or all just learning topics, and maybe you do like a little bit of code here and there to kind of just like assist with the overall understanding. So there's those types of classes, but the typical one is there's a topic for maybe that week or period, especially in the earlier classes where you're still learning the foundations of coding. There's that lecture period, maybe like 2 on that one topic, and then a project that reinforces those ideas. So there's also lab periods, especially in those beginning courses where it's usually a lecture, a lab, and then another lecture, and then the project is due maybe at the beginning of the next week or something like that. And that's always, building off on some topic. So, yeah, so for the first 2 courses at the university, it was in Java as the programming language. The first one was like really learning like object-oriented programming. Um, and then the second one was an intro to data structures and algorithms using what you already, like you needed to have an understanding of Java to be able to do that course. And then after that, we went to C Sharp, which if you know Java, you can succeed in C Sharp like 85% basically. There's only like a little bit of extra stuff that's kind of different there. And then after that, so those three you usually take sequentially, and you're not really using other, like those are all the, that's like where you're doing most of your code writing is in those three courses for your first 3 semesters. And after that, it's kind of really open on what you take. So those three teach you like how to be a good software engineer. And then after that, you learn more about, systems or more algorithms or computer architecture or some math related stuff, or your electives. And that's where, you can kind of find your interests or learn more about, the system or like, how does a computer work at the circuit level and stuff like that.
You told me about the concept of labs. And is there anyone who manages you, who give you some advice or help you if you in case of trouble?
There are, so during the lab, there's a TA, so a teaching assistant or a learning assistant, and they're like, the professor has maybe like 5 of them, and they directly communicate with the professor on what the purpose of that week's lab is. So the lab, you're typically working through some code that the professor already wrote, or, it's directly given to you. It's not like in a project where they give you a problem and you have a lot of time to solve it. These are like 50-minute sessions where basically every step along the way you're getting guided, but it's just kind of giving you the routine of what you're probably going to end up doing in the homework. So something really similar, but not exactly, obviously. So that's one resource. And a lot of classes don't have labs like in the later part of the degree, but all of the beginning ones definitely do. And then the other way is there's TA like help sessions. So with remote, it's kind of different. A lot of classes do it differently, but when it wasn't remote, there's like a big lab with like a bunch of computers, and there's, a bunch of different classes might be meeting there at the same time. But you don't have to go. But if you're struggling with something, there's one person from your class, at least during like the session, you look up the times or whatever, then you can go there and get like direct help from a TA. So they can, and the help you can get there can be like directly related to an assignment. So if there's one part you're just not understanding, they can give you like basically the exact answer as far as the professor wants them to, because they're like in direct communication with that professor. So they know, how much to tell and where to say, okay, I've told you everything I can. It's up to you for the rest of the way. So, and then there's also like professor office hours you can go to. So if you're struggling, as long as you start early and don't wait till the last day, you should have time to get some help. And I found like, for me, that I usually don't mess around with like professor office hours. But I have gone to TA office hours a few times, and like it's just a fast way to get some very specific help.
How do they evaluate your projects? I mean, you have a certain deadline, and I mean, is it like you passed it or you didn't pass it, or like, I don't know, you have 100%, 90%, 80%, something like that? Because in 42 schools, just we only obliged to like submit the project until the deadline and evaluate it, and it's like passed or not passed if something doesn't work. And the same for exams. I mean, just you need to pass the exams before the deadline. And we have a sort of a system, who doesn't know, at 42 school, it's a black hole. So, and it's like a day counting before that. So you need to keep up doing the projects, and you are kind of far away from black hole, I mean like the days, you have more days to study there when you pass more projects. And the same is for the exams. As I told you, you can submit it. I mean, if you fail the exam one day, you can pass the exam, write the exam the other day. If you fail the other day, and you have, I don't know, endless amounts of attempts as soon as you keep up with the deadlines. So how is it going on in your case?
So I guess the standard kind of way is a lot of classes, especially early ones, you can submit it I'm trying to think. So I know I've had one class where the tests are already written, and when you submit it, it immediately gets evaluated. And then you can see right then, how am I doing? Like, oh, I just passed nothing in this assignment. I better go back to work and try and fix everything. It doesn't tell you exactly what you're like. It doesn't tell you the test that was written, but it'll tell you usually like some sort of comment or like some sort of title of what the test you failed was, so you can get a general idea of where in your code you're struggling. So it's always percent based. So, there's a total, let's say 125 points possible. 100 points might come from the tests, and then 25 points might come from someone reading through your code, making sure you have good tests that you wrote yourself and you've commented your code well, and that's usually like the other half of this. Or some courses, you have to analyze the code, like the times, like the algorithmic like complexity and stuff like that. But it's always, you get a grade on that assignment, and then that's weighed into, some quizzes or participation or your lab scores, which basically are just attendance points. And all of that comes together with your final exam to determine your grade.
Mm-hmm. And how is like the final exam? Just you do the test, or you write the code, you submit the assignment? Who checks it? Basically, the automatic program, the teacher, the TA?
Yeah, so the tests, at least, for the majority of my career, has been in person. So you actually have like a piece of paper that you're writing the answers, and the test is, graded by hand usually. But yeah, so it's kind of weird writing code by hand with no compiler to check your errors. So yeah, it forces you to kind of learn things about the language, like syntax and stuff, which I don't know. I don't know how I feel about, to be honest, because like, when are you writing code, without any internet, where you can't just look up, one syntax word or something? So
yeah, but the same thing, with the writing, I think it's basically close to the interview process that you're going to have when you want to be enrolled in a company. So they also ask you some questions, and you don't have like the Google and everything with you. Yeah. Probably right now, yes, you have, as long as you are passing the interview online. But if you have the interview in person, so you don't have all of these tools that allow you to do that. The same is also what I mentioned about Fortitude School. We are writing exams on computers, but everything is turned off except the terminal. So you only have the terminal, and you also have to learn the syntax and so on, because you can't, actually somehow you can find if you are, good enough at Shell, so you can find some editors like Visual Studio Code to Xcode or something, but as long as you don't know how to, like, basic rules and so on, you don't have the help of Google, I mean. So that's why you need to do everything yourself. And if you can't, then you're not a good developer, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say because with what I do with my job, so I do work in the software industry right now, and I did an internship over the summer at the same company, but a lot of my time where I didn't know what to do was just spent like searching through Google. So like the skill of finding stuff on Google is also really useful, but I can see like the purpose of just like really knowing your stuff and just being solid on certain topics.
The thing is that in this test, and I guess in this the test that you are doing at your school, I mean that you have to write in like handwriting or in a whiteboard and a blackboard. It's not that complicated where you need to Google something. It's like very, very basics, and that you have to have in your head.
That's what they that's how they advertise it, and that's what they probably, I'd say like that's what most of the test is like, really basic fundamental stuff. And then there's just like one or two questions where it's like, they give you one weird syntax thing that you only ever use like, you might never use. Like in one of my courses, I think there was a question on a ternary operator, which we were explicitly like, the professor like showed us a picture of in like one slide in lecture and told us not to use because it's like, it's not very clear. It's not as clear as like an if statement or something. And then that showed up on the test, on the final test. So it's like, why are you testing us to know stuff you told us not to use? So
do you like in your education in the studying, do you do more than the university asks you to do? I mean, do you, for example, there is a lot of websites like LeetCode or Codecamp or something like that where you can test your algorithms. Do you feel like you need more to sort of self-studying, or what you're doing at the university is enough?
So personally, I've never ever done anything like LeetCode or anything like that. Granted, I've never, tried to prepare for an interview at Amazon or Google or something like that, where I know you need to like be really solid on, inverting a binary tree or something like that. Yeah, just tried to like become a more solid programmer outside of what I'm doing in school. And that's probably like I haven't been, like, oh, I graduated a year ago and I don't have a job. What's wrong? Like I'm still in school and I'm not like really, I don't know, like I've had some opportunities just kind of come my way with work. So I haven't really tried to, go above and beyond, I guess.
How much do you spend, or did you used to spend studying?
How much should I use or how much do I use are like two. um, so I probably spend maybe 3 hours, like engaged with school, because I have courses that I have to attend, and then I also have like homework that I do. So doing the homework is like a smaller percent of my day typically than going to classes and stuff. And like if you read the course handbook or whatever, that number's probably supposed to be flipped. But I tend to like wait until there's maybe like 2 days before an assignment's due to like really start on it. And I don't know if it's good or bad, but like a lot of my courses this semester, the assignments are due like at the middle of the day the next day. So then I end up staying up until like 4 a.m. or something, finishing assignments, which is a pretty bad habit. But I'd say each week, I'd probably, so each day I'd probably say it's about 4 or 5 hours at most. Or maybe that's average. I have a really hard time gauging because I spend so much time like just at my computer right now, since everything's virtual. I'll work in the morning, then I'll go to class, and then, when I'm not in class, maybe I'm like browsing the web or like passively working on something. But over the whole course of a semester, like most classes only have like 5 big homework assignments. So if each one of those takes, 10 hours or something, that's really not a whole lot of time in the grand scheme of a semester. So most of my time is really just spent in class, maybe preparing for a quiz or just, watching the lecture, taking my notes and stuff like that.
All right. And well, what are your plans? I mean, when you finish?
When I finish, so right now the company I work for, they have like a really high rate of hiring people that work, like that were interns. So over this summer, I worked with two students who were like a year older than me. So right now they're going to be graduating in December, and both of them got asked back to this company. So and the company, like my team leader really likes me, so like I basically know I can have a job there after college. But I don't know if it's not in the video game industry. So I'm kind of like making that decision for myself right now. Like, is video games something I want to pursue, even though it'll cost me this, like basically this, for sure opportunity. So I'm still undecided on even where I want to live. And luckily the company I work for is like all over the US, so I can move to different states and stuff. So yeah, I really don't know. I know I have an opportunity, and judging based on how like, momentum usually works, I'll probably end up working there at least for a while, just because it is like such a good opportunity, coming right out of college and jumping into a full-time job is pretty cool. And I know I like working there to a certain degree, so.
Okay. So you watched this video and gonna like, look back at your thoughts back then. And the final question. So can you please give some advice for people who are doubting whether to start studying programming, computer science, whether to go to the university or look for other alternatives, how to learn it?
I think for one, like software engineering and programming, it's a great career path to try. There's a lot of opportunity right now, and it's not something that's really going to be going away anytime soon. So taking time to learn something like this is really I think it's a great option, if you find out it's something you can engage with. So when it comes to like if you're already planning to go to a university, or you have a great opportunity to go to a university, I think that's a really good option. But when it comes to taking on a lot of debt for it, engineering tends to pay itself back, but at the same time, like having that hanging over your head can be a lot of stress. So it comes down to like the course you think you're going to be on when it comes to is the university right for you. If you have a great opportunity, I'd say definitely go for it. If not, I'd say exploring other options just to like get your foot in the door to see, do I like this? I don't know if I'd recommend, taking on, $25,000 for a year at a college just to answer the question, is this for me or not? To me, that's a pretty big price to pay for something like that. But, some people, really value the college experience and stuff like that. So if that's you, I think, the university is a great option. But if, that you don't see yourself, wanting to have that much debt and stuff like that, I think alternative options are probably a better way to go just for, the financial sense of it. It's just like kind of, crazy, especially when it comes down to just like, is this for me or not? And then as far as like, if you don't know, like, how can I test out, is programming something I like? Trying out some like beginner project or, like finding something you like. So there's so much in computer science that, you might hate one part of it and then just love another part. So if you've gotten discouraged by, you tried something and it was really hard for you to understand, or, you just didn't like any part of it, don't lose hope, because there's so much cool stuff in computer science, like moments where, your program you wrote, finally like compiles or finally works, or you print out hello world for the first time, or you pass all your tests that you wrote. Like those moments of like, I did this, I mastered the machine. Like it's a really satisfying thing that, I don't know how many career opportunities give you that power of creating and, mastering something. So it can be really exceptionally fulfilling. So yeah, anyone who has an inclination, I'd say, give it a shot. Take a course, if you're in high school, try to find a resource in high school that'll let you, learn some basics. Or if you're in college, take one course or something like that. And if you're, in a professional setting, or, still trying to figure out what you want to do, finding those other opportunities and alternative paths can really be just a great way to, find out if it's for you or not. So
thank you very much for this message, for this thought. I think it's very inspiring for our viewers, for the listeners, and thank you very much for this interview. If you have anything more to say, just say it.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, I'm still super excited about, what I do at work and what I learn about in school. And I don't really see myself, ever learning everything there is in computer science. And if you're hungry to learn, there's not much better of a path to take. So thank you so much, Anna. I really enjoy your videos. So
thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you liked it, you enjoyed it, and it gave you a lot of inspiration. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet, and I'll put the link down below to Justin's Instagram account and his email, and if you want to contact him and ask him some questions, and you can also post them down below this video. So thank you very much again, and see you in my next videos. Bye bye.
Bye.